deck the halls and light the tree. It's Christmas with our favorite family. Hello, everybody. Happy holidays, and welcome to a very, very special episode of Talking Pictures Alliance, episode number 15, because today, Jeff and I are going to be taking on probably the best, if not the only Christmas movie you should ever see. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, 1989's holiday classic that I think will last throughout the years.
I agree. I mean, it's a funny joke that a lot of people talk about, but I really do think it'll last forever.
It's so great. It's so relatable. It's so much fun. And if you've never seen it, here's the story we're dealing with. It's Griswold. So if you've ever seen National Lampoon's Vacation, it's the same family. Clark Griswold is throwing, I guess, what he believes will be the perfect Christmas in his history. He's hosting family at his house. But of course, things go wrong. People get mad. Squirrels attack older people. Cats get blown up. People get kidnapped and held at gunpoint. And in the end, it all works out. And we end it on Christmas Eve. We actually don't make it to Christmas Day.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It never makes it to Christmas Day. But man, there is a whole lot of Christmas compacted in. I mean, the story takes place over a few days, right? I mean, the family members move in to their house, maybe some unexpected move into the house for, I want to say, it's a really long time, like a month, because they start showing the advent calendar at the beginning of the film, and it's like the 5th or something, and then the family's already there all the way up to Christmas Eve. So can you imagine spending an entire month with your family in one house until Christmas Eve?
We can barely do a week at a time. I don't know about you, but a week is definitely really pushing it. By day 4, I think everyone's like, all right, I think we all kind of want to slink back off to our respective homes, go back to the normalcy we've built ourselves, and call it a day.
It's the personalities, right? I mean, and that's what shows in the movie, which makes it super relatable, I think. Like, you have some notes here, Kristen, which I think are spot on, talking about how, there are people in our families that can identify with all of the characters that are in this, or that we can identify as the characters in this movie. And I think that's what makes it so entertaining.
Oh, perfect. Now, before we get into the discussion about this wonderful film, let's kind of set the tone here. So 1989, we're talking about the year when Batman was released, which was a great, I know I watched that one a lot growing up. That was kind of like that first real superhero movie, even though it's kind of funny going back and watching it because it's not as serious, at least as I thought it was growing up. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, The Little Mermaid, When Harry Met Sally, all of these films released this year. So I think 1989 might go down as one of the best years in film history.
Yeah, I mean, there's some good movies, right? I mean, Little Mermaid and When Harry Met Sally, and even Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Batman's really, really good, and, it breaks the wall for a lot of things that were to come. It's an interesting year. And I mean, it's funny that I would wager that this movie is up amongst, the most watched of this year's releases. Batman, Indiana Jones, Little Mermaid, these movies. Little Mermaid is up there. Probably Harry Met Sally is up there too. But people watch this every single year.
Yeah, and you're one of those, right? Every single year you pull that out and you're like, it's time to watch it. It's time to watch it. And I see the comment in chat there, 2 years old. I was 2 years old as well. Were you 2 years old in 89?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is one of those that became classic for us long after it released. I know it was my dad who showed it to me. What about you?
Oh my, yeah, it was my dad. Showed the movie a long time ago, and then it kind of fell off the radar for me for a while. And then I think in college, I really started to realize how much I actually liked it. I wasn't just pretending to like it because, oh, it's Christmas. We got to break out the Christmas movies, and everybody watches a Christmas movie. No, I actually like this movie.
That's fantastic. Oh, I love the gotta break out the Christmas movies. We had that too, the box of movies that we'd watch as much as we could. Oh my goodness. And then yeah, that's a great point. I think a lot of our dads were Chevy Chase fans. Was yours? It was so relatable to them, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And like one of my best friends' dads is really into Chevy Chase movies and stuff like this. So yeah, I think that's accurate.
Yeah, yeah, and then we have it directed by Jeremiah Chechik, who did Benny and June, which I've never seen, but I see the picture for it. The 1998's Avengers movie with Uma Thurman, Gossip Girl, and then the TV series Chuck. It was written by John Hughes, who, if you don't know who John Hughes is, I didn't when I first saw his name, but now I do. 16 Candles, Ferris Bueller, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Home Alone, and of course starring Chevy Chase and Beverly D'Angelo. And a lot of other Saturday Night Live people show up in this.
Yeah, it just shows how the times with Saturday Night Live haven't changed. You see a lot of Saturday Night Live people in comedy movies, and it's always been like that. This is a good example of that.
Totally. So kicking off the talk of the film, I like that the first thing you have is that Ellen stays by Clark's side the entire film, regardless of how crazy it gets and how crazy he gets.
Yeah, I think that's such a great part of this movie that often gets overlooked, right? Because it's all like I have written down here that I think that the mix of touching moments and also the comedy in the movie makes it really well written because Ellen, who's Clark's wife, sticks with him throughout the entire movie. And I mean, if you think about everything that this guy is doing with this family, right? Driving them out to the middle of the nowhere to pick up a Christmas tree, having the tree explode in their house and have the sap all over, and they're just sitting and talking in bed. And I mean, she stays with him the entire time. And very few times gets actually frustrated with him. I mean, there's the one time where she's out and throws her eggnog into the bush or whatever because she's mad, but she sticks with them, and I think that's cool.
Yeah. Now, do you feel? Because I feel that's something I do with my husband, at least, is there's free reign. We all are adults. We all deal with things. But there's a certain line. And as soon as that line is crossed, that's when a foot needs to come down and we need to pull things back. Do you guys kind of have that? And I know around the holidays that definitely kicks in because it can be higher stress situations.
Yeah, for sure. And I am definitely the more difficult of the two in my marriage. I think that I set expectations really, really high for things. And then, Kayla's always there for me to tell me, this is as good as it's going to get. Like, let's calm down a little bit.
Right now, speaking of expectations, I think one of the best things this movie does to talk about the holidays is it presents you Chevy Chase's character who clearly has a vision in his head of what the perfect Griswold Christmas should look like, and the dinner scene. I have been in a dinner like that, and you can see that, he's trying to shake it off as best he can, but one thing too many, and that's it. Off the handle, night's ruined. Now we gotta listen to so and so go off. I mean, have you been in that situation?
Absolutely. I absolutely have. It happens around the holidays. It also happens around we like to host people a lot. So to have people over, make dinner, do things like that. We think it's fun, but you're setting the scene here. I mean, you're trying to make the best thing that you can. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. I mean, this will bleed over into who we think we are in this movie. But I'm telling you, I set the expectation for myself and my house and the dinner and everything we're doing, really high.
So what would you say then is your breaking point? Do you have a number of things that can go wrong that you allow for, or are there certain things that just can't go wrong? And if those things go wrong, then it's time to go into fix it mode.
Kristen, you're talking to the guy that parks in the same parking spot at the grocery store every single time. I mean,
And we'll wait for that parking spot. Let's throw that out.
it's true. And so, yeah, I don't know. Even the little things bother me. When I clean my house, I go in a certain order because I've figured out that, the equation. So if I clean the blinds first, then if the dust falls from the blinds, it goes onto the floor. And like that's the type of person I am, which is not good. If you're listening out there, don't be that crazy. But yeah, I guess there is a breaking point for me where I guess I'm a little less intense once the people get here. So like if we're doing something and setting up and getting ready and oh my god, we don't have toothpicks. What are you talking about? We need toothpicks. Like freak out about it. But then once people get here, I relax into it a little bit, even if things do go wrong. What about you? Do you guys host people a lot? Do you feel this feeling that I'm so passionate about?
We don't get to host as much as I'd like, but I totally get it. And my thing is, I always wish I could buy all the things to make it perfect. I'm like, oh, I should have painted the walls years ago. I should have redone the windowsills because, oh my God, I don't want this windowsill when the person's sleeping over. But in the end, it's just, you host them and you hope for the best. I always get worried that they pretend to like it when they're here. But after they leave, there's no way we're going to be hosted by the Fergusons again. There's no way.
That's funny.
So we get the opening scene. Then you have road rage, and I don't want to spend the holidays dead, which is fantastic. But I think my favorite part there is they're singing the Christmas carols, and the kids are just bored out of their minds in the back seat.
Yeah, I think we are hit with one of the best comedic moments of the film in the first 10 seconds of the live action piece of this. When they get, take it, Russ! And he doesn't say anything, and then they still do, la, 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 la. It's too good. It's too funny. And the road rage piece of it is another thing that I actually relate to. Like if people are driving too, maybe not rage, I get frustrated with people on the road. I don't like, try to ram people off the road and things like that. But still, I think that's interesting. And especially it magnifies itself around the holidays. Because let me ask you a question. Have you ever been in a good Trader Joe's parking lot? The answer is no. They all suck.
Oh my God, you're so right about that. Chicago, Seattle.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. They're terrible.
How about Costco parking lots? They also suck. Like it's so around the holidays when you're trying to get in so you can get your gluten-free mac and cheese before Thanksgiving, you can't get a parking spot. He tries to get in there and then I gotta stop talking.
You're just gonna keep going, working yourself up. Now, did you do lots of road trips around the holidays or anything? Was that ever part of the Christmas routine?
A set of my grandparents lived about 2 hours away from where I grew up, so we would spend Christmas Eve with one set of grandparents, and then the next day we would open presents and then move to my second set of grandparents. So, I mean, the most road trip we would do would be about 2 hours, but that's not intense.
No, that's about ours, because ours were in Orlando, and we were usually in Tampa. So we'd open presents in the morning and then drive to Grandma and Grandpa's, where Grandma and Grandpa would host the holiday meetup. And it was usually a big family thing, but we never slept in the same house. So maybe that's why those were a lot more magical than trying to share spaces for extended periods of time.
Yeah, a month or whatever. Let's just be generous and say 2 weeks.
Right, and it's not even their siblings who tend to be a bit more tolerable because you're about the same age. It's the parents, and we are told from the get-go that the parent sets do not get along.
It's so funny. It's so great. I don't have that in my current family. Like my wife's family loves my family and they get along really well. How about you guys?
They don't live close enough. to know, to be honest, at the wedding, everything was great. It was fine. It was wonderful. But I honestly have no idea.
Hey, sometimes it's better left unknown.
Exactly. We assume it would be okay and everything would be fine. And then I like your question here. Do you like real Christmas trees or fake? And have you ever cut down a tree from the woods?
So my answer is really simple. We never had a real tree growing up. We've had a fake tree my entire life. We have never had, I mean, I have one in the living room right now, a fake tree. Um, so in college, we got a real tree a couple of times and we kind of went overboard and got like a 15-foot vaulted ceiling, European Christmas tree kind of thing because we wanted to know what it's like. But we didn't go cut it down ourselves or, go out into the woods to get it.
Okay, so do you like real Christmas trees? Because you've had both, so you know the experience.
There's so much work involved with a real Christmas tree. Like having a fake tree, pulling it out of your garage, snapping three pieces together, throwing the lights on, or you could just spend the extra $20 that the light's already on there. And I think that this is where I have a weird mindset about this kind of stuff because the real Christmas, a real Christmas tree, right? But if I buy a real Christmas tree, I got to put the lights on perfectly. Like there can't be any unlit section or anything like that. So I just dodge all of that if I have a fake tree.
Gotcha, gotcha. We always had a real one growing up, but neither of my parents, as far as I know, were crazy, crazy perfectionists. So it was part of the tradition though, is we'd get the real tree, and Mom would get eggnog and a tin of Danish butter cookies, and we'd spend the whole night. We'd turn on the Christmas music for the first time. We'd decorate it. And that was a good time. Those are always they're bonding moments, right? I think more than actually having a real tree.
So this might be a super ignorant question coming from someone that lives on the West Coast, but where do they get Christmas trees in Tampa?
They ship them. As far as I know, it's just trucks of trees shipped down.
They got to be super expensive.
I actually have no idea. I mean, Mom and Dad would always tell us which section we could get the tree from, but I never paid attention to price.
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, because I know here they're probably shipped down from up north, and that's about it. Yeah. So would you ever hike out into the woods and cut down your own Christmas tree? Would that make it worth it for you?
Let me think. I don't think it's worth the work, right? And you're never going to find the perfect tree. There's a certain level of OCD here, Kristen, that I think I'm trying to convey. Like, I'm going to be looking at these trees and be like, too tall, too short, too fat, too skinny. I don't want that one. That one smells. Like, just send me straight up to Amazon.com and I'll buy a nice one on Black Friday.
There we go. It's perfect. Always buy your Christmas presents after Christmas. That may be a tradition I start with my family. The sale day. We're going to celebrate Christmas on New Year's.
And what's the other thing that they say in this scene that's so great? Audrey, what do you think of the tree? She'll see it later, Clark. Her eyes are frozen.
Right? It's so freaking great. And I love that her eyes are frozen. And she's the grumpy teenager who clearly isn't having fun with anything. The little boy seems to be on the cusp of hitting that age where Christmas isn't cool anymore. But she is hardcore, not happy with anything. The whole joke about that you've written here, do you sleep with your brother? Do you know how sick and twisted that is? And then the shoot back from the mom who started smoking again by this point. Well, I sleep with your father. I mean, we're not even close to Christmas, and everything is just falling apart at this point. But I like how we talked about earlier, it's a nice interplay of comedy and heartfelt moments because it's not laugh out loud to me anymore because I've seen it so many times. But it's just so relatable, but not a little over the top. I guess the icicle going through the neighbor's window is pretty intense.
Yeah, and that brings up a good point about the one-liners in this movie are so great. And you might, if you've never seen this and you don't know what's coming, you need to watch this multiple times because there are things like that line about, well, I sleep with your father. I mean, I think that's hilarious. And there's a lot of those that are still in there that are just really, really good. But talking about the neighbors all together. So they got these neighbors, which are like super trendy 80s neighbors. They've got their compact disc players and their, margaritas on Christmas Eve and all this kind of stuff. Do you think that they add or detract from the story?
I don't like them, to be honest. I don't think they add anything except slapstick humor to it. Yeah, I don't mind them. I don't despise them, but I feel really bad for them because they're just trying to celebrate Christmas in their way. And sure, they don't like their neighbor. We have neighbors that we don't like. That's okay. But are they really deserving of such terrible things happening to them?
Yeah, some bad stuff happens to them, right? Yeah, I don't like them either. I think that they kind of distract from what's the family aspect of the story going. Luckily, they're not in the story very often, so it's maybe a total of a minute altogether that they actually are shown on screen. So not a big deal, but yeah, the film could be done without.
Yeah, and I guess too, if you cut them out of the film, the story still works because they're actually no real part of what's going on. And they don't really serve as a moral aspect of it, I don't think, because Chevy Chase's character isn't exactly the most upstanding guy, especially when he's looking at the lingerie to get his wife, who's dead. And that's one of the greatest shticks in there is when he's talking to the cashier woman and keeps dropping
Words.
the words. It's something
that's
I think
my
Chevy
favorite
Chase
scene.
does real well.
Yeah, that's my favorite scene in the movie, just because it's so awkward and so obvious, but the woman that's working behind the counter doesn't ever say anything about it. Like, it just goes on and on and on.
Right? And in the end, she's totally bought into it because she's showing the stocking. She's not so disgusted that she walks away because she knows this is a ruse. Clearly from her facial expressions.
And then it's capped off with the funniest joke when he's like, look, can't see the line, can you, Russ? And he says, nope.
So that brings up a question I have for you, because I know this isn't a morality play. It's a simple comedy film, and I think in most comedies, it works really well if you have a dysfunctional group of people trying to work together. Do you think his character is even deserving of a perfect family Christmas? Does that add to the comedy of his Christmas not working out, or do you think it kind of detracts from him working so hard? Because also he buys a pool, he puts money down for a pool, their savings kind of a thing, without consulting his wife. That's pretty intense.
Yeah, I think I don't know. Maybe my opinion is unpopular, but I feel like the statement that his coworker says to him in the movie, where you're the last true family man, right? I think that that's actually true. I think that Clark is really doing everything for his family, and he's just dumb. I mean, right? He's just like this dumb guy that works on cereal varnishes and does this stuff, but like putting in the pool for his family and those types of things, he wants to do it for everybody. Even he says, if there's enough left over, you all out here to eat the new pool. And I don't know. What do you think? I think he deserves it only because, man, he's trying hard.
He totally is. He totally is. And he's trying to keep it together. I'm not decided because he's not even a good guy in the other vacation movies. But that's where the hilarity comes from. Because like you said, he's a dumb, but he's not dumb. I guess he's book smart because he crafts new chemicals for cereal. Especially that slip and slide stuff that he puts on the little toboggan and goes for a ride with, which is the Walmart parking lot. That was great to see. Bless you, Walmart. It's still around.
That was a flash to the past.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I'm not sure I'm decided, but the comedy is so great, and I think his reactions are very very real. And I wonder how much of that is improv.
Yeah, I was reading a few things about that. They had some weird things going on when they were filming this movie where the cast had a bet going on with each other where you would gain points for every time you would say one of your lines if you were sitting down. So if you watch the movie again knowing that, it's actually really interesting to see like people sitting in it and things like that. It's a cool thing. So I mean, I'm sure that the atmosphere around this film while they were filming it was really crazy. I mean, these are a bunch of crazy people putting on this crazy movie. So maybe improv.
That's fair. That's fair. I like to think most of it is anyway, because that makes it even better. You're off script, but you're having such a great time and everyone's in character. Boom, you got yourself a scene. So then now let's shift to that talk of that bonus I see you have here. You're supposed to be getting a huge bonus for work, and Kyle looked this up for me. And it's really depressing because bonuses used to be a thing. Like big bonuses for Christmas time used to be a thing. But starting in the late 90s, but around the 90s, companies started doing away with it. And now it's just not even a thing anymore. Maybe you might get a gift card here or there, but that holiday bonus thing's dead.
Yeah, and this used to be a real thing. Like talking to my dad about this kind of stuff, it's like the way that companies get around giving you a bonus is that they're saying, "Oh, we're paying it out to you throughout the entire year, like we're just increasing your salary, right?"
Uh-huh.
So maybe, but the thing here is that I mean, people would just rely on this. Like the company bonus would come in, and like Clark, they would spend their entire bonus on their family, Christmas vacations, things like that. I've never gotten a bonus ever in my life. What would I spend it on if I did get a bonus? I mean, I'd probably save it to like buy a house someday. I don't know. That's really lame though.
No, dude,
Maybe I
that's
would.
totally cool. If anything, that's the crazy thing to do, right? Because
Yeah.
who saves money that they get nowadays? It's insane to think that there are people out there that have aspirations years down the road that require a lot of planning.
Yeah, and I'm thinking like, because I know that there are some companies out there that still do like executive bonuses, stuff like that, but I don't see that living on forever.
Yeah, and it's really kind of sad because where did that bonus money go?
I don't know. Also, this is just a random IRS fact that I happen to know that the government taxes bonus money differently than salary, and it's like a much higher tax than tax rate than just a normal payout.
Oh, I think we might be onto something here as to the reasoning behind. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Anyway, we're never gonna get a bonus, so it doesn't really matter. So
Yeah, exactly. So we're gonna celebrate the way we know how to celebrate. Ever had? Oh, I like this one. The boss that doesn't know your name. Now, this scene is one that is a personal favorite of mine. When he walks into the boss's office to drop off his gift, and I just noticed it this time that I watched it. All the gifts are the same shape. I'd never noticed that before. But that again is another. I've totally been in that situation. Like, what do you get your boss? Some impersonal thing because you don't know the guy, and true to form, he doesn't even know you.
absolutely, I think this is also another way that it really does a great job of relating to real life, right? Because the interaction that happens here is that the boss doesn't know your name. There's a bunch of people that are like following the boss around. You buy the boss a gift, but you just buy him something generic and it happens to be everything. It happens to be the thing that everyone else is the boss. And also, the boss comes in and says, "Hey, you're the guy that did that thing, right? Yeah, I need a report about everything about that thing that you did by the end of the day."
So I can present it as my
Yeah.
work. If that's one of the biggest pet peeves. That's not even a question. I hate it when people try to take credit for work I do. It drives me up the wall. And maybe I'm so prideful I could never work for somebody who does that. But I don't know, maybe Clark was making a lot of money because that house he lives in is not just some casual home on the outskirts of Chicago. That's like $1 million investment
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, try like $5 million. I mean, first of all, there's a thing here that I wrote. I don't know if I wrote it down or not, but oh yeah, Christmas in Chicago, right? There's a lot of Christmas films that take place in Chicago, and I don't know what it is, but man, it feels Christmassy when you look at. But the Home Alone house, right? That's in Chicago. That's like a $10 million house nowadays. I mean, let's be real. These people are raking in the dough. I figured it out. It's the Christmas bonus.
Right? You can spend it. They used to be in the millions. You can spend it all to buy a house. Nowadays, we're giving a gift card to Applebee's. Well, Merry Christmas. We can afford to eat out this year.
Yeah, go out and get your bloomin' onion from Outback Steakhouse.
Right? But it's only good until New Year's, so you have to go when it's crowded and there are
and
families
you have to spend
visiting.
$50.
Is it really worth it at that point? It's maybe. That's just such a sad thought.
Oh, what is your favorite scene in the film, Kristen? Like, what do you think is the best scene in the movie? Because you know what mine is. I think it's the department store thing is just a great interaction.
Well, that makes me wonder, is that because it's close to a real life event that happened to you, or you just enjoy the situation because his son walks in on it? And it doesn't have to be you were flirting with anybody there. Just an awkward exchange in a mall.
No, well, okay, so I think everybody can relate to this, right? Like you go to the mall and you're doing something and you like, you go up to the pretzel stand or whatever, and whoever is working on the side, you think is attractive, right? So you start talking and whatever. And some people are better at it than other people's just like having a normal conversation. People get nervous, all this kind of stuff. I think we can all relate to having experienced that throughout our entire life. And Clark's interaction in this scene embodies that, right? I mean, obviously blows it way out of proportion of what you would actually do. But that's what this movie does, is it takes real life stuff that happens to people, blows it way out of proportion, and everybody thinks it's funny.
Yeah, totally. And I think my favorite scene is the cat scene, because that's cats. They will chew on everything. I don't even know how many cords we ever placed because just one cat, not to mention the second cat that we've taken in, they just can't stop. And I mean, the stuff's plugged in, so if they get to the wires, they're going to get electrocuted.
I'm not laughing because of that. I'm laughing because this is funny.
But they don't know that, right? So they're going to steal the cords, and true to form with cats, they're going to go hide in a little space where no one's going to notice them, because if they get noticed, they're going to get scolded. So honestly, that makes me happy because it's a cat getting what it deserves. That's what you get if you had just listened. If you just listened and left the tree alone.
There's so many little great moments in here. Another thing that I think that relates to real life is that feeling of when Russ is helping his dad decorate, right? And he's standing down in the front yard and he's like, Dad, I can't find the Santa, but he's holding the two reindeers, right? And he's like, just drop them down there on the lawn. And he just drops them and walks away. I've been that kid. Like, there's so much more I could be doing right now. I don't want to be helping my dad decorate the house and put the lights up and mow the grass or whatever. So again, just another example of how it's really well done.
Now, let me ask this. Now that you're grown up, do you ever have anybody stand there with you while you're working? Or do you make sure whoever is there with you has something to do?
Oh,
are you
Kristen,
perpetuating the stereotype?
It's my turn. It's my turn to have help. I'm getting the help out there. So yeah, I'm living the dream right now. getting
That's
older.
golden. So, do you have two people at least instead of just the one child? You're going for as many people as possible.
Yes, as many helpers as I can get.
Oh, so good. So good. I love I want to bring up the aunt. The crazy aunt. I love that woman. And sadly, I think this was her last film before she passed on. But when she starts hand over heart singing that Star Spangled Banner, and then she brings her cat in the box and the Jello mold because she wraps up whatever is in her house because she's lost it, but she's still got the husband who's yelling at her. If I ever go crazy when I'm older, that's the aunt I want to be. Still just so lovable, even though she's off her rocker.
Yes, so great. I totally agree.
And you wrote a small attention to detail doorbell.
Yeah, so this is another thing that you don't notice unless you watch it a couple of times. But when the family first gets there and everybody's in their room, like waiting for them to get there at the doorbell, they ring the doorbell like 6 times, but each time it's longer and a low pitch. It's like ding dong, ding dong, ding dong.
No way!
Yeah, the last one is like really low and really funny, like impending doom is about to come at the front door.
Well, it totally is, because let's not forget that one relative who shows up, and we all have that one relative to varying degrees. I mean, I'm sure not as shitter's clogged levels as his brother, right?
Is it his brother-in-law? Is it his brother or his brother-in-law?
I don't know, actually.
Well, they call him Cousin Eddie.
Yeah, so maybe it's just his cousin.
I'm looking this up.
But Randy Quaid does such a great job. As you look this up, he said he based it off of some neighbors he had growing up in Texas. And if you have this kind of family in your family, and I have some of this family in my family, it's pretty good. It's pretty real.
Okay, I found out here that Clark is shocked to see Ellen's cousin Catherine and her husband Eddie.
Gotcha. So I guess that would kind of then explain why Catherine is so sweet and mild, but why would she end up with Eddie? Accidental pregnancy, maybe. I mean, that I would make that assumption in this kind of film, that's why.
I don't know. This guy is disgusting. Like, right? He's like the grossest dude. He's in another one of the National Lampoon movies, I think. But, oh man, just everything that this guy is out there, emptying the RV. I think it's so funny when the boss's wife at the end of the movie is describing this guy, and she says, he's a big, bulbous man with a blue leisure suit on.
Right? And the fact that he'd be outside in his boxers in the cold with just his boots on, with his underwear and coat. I mean, that's Florida. That's white trash Florida right there. This is growing up. It's just part of life, because that's just how it is, So it's so funny to see that forced into poor Clark Griswold's life. And of course, his leisure suits. He's got so many. And they're kind of too tight.
Yeah, my favorite thing is the scene where he wears the white sweater, but the faux turtleneck underneath it, and the faux turtleneck is black, and it's just like one of those things that you put under your shirt, so it looks like you're wearing a turtle.
Dude, that's one of my favorite things. They even have that on Venture Bros. Venture wears those. You can see it when he takes. So to see that in this movie really kind of sums up Eddie's character. Now, would you say, assuming we all have that one relative, is your one relative a part of your immediate family or extended family?
It would be my immediate family.
Oh.
I mean, what is extended?
So immediate family, I consider mom, dad, siblings.
Oh, no, 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 not my immediate family then.
Okay.
Then extended family then.
Yeah, totally, totally. And it's
And it's exactly, I mean, again, you can relate to this perfectly. You know, there's always that one person. You're standing, you're getting ready for, whatever sort of get together your family's doing, and you're thinking, oh, this person's gonna be here today. Like, you're thinking that as you go through, and then they are just oblivious to everything that's going on. And cousin Eddie.
yep, you just let them go because that's all you can do. You just accept that it's going to happen, and that's it. And speaking of simply letting things happen, I think this movie deals a lot with the broken hopes and dreams that can happen Christmas time. And sometimes it works out and sometimes it doesn't. But I think it's a really cute story to tell during the holidays because we're sold that dreams are supposed to come true on the holidays, kind of a thing, right? Your wishes are going to be granted by some jolly elf in a red coat who sneaks down your chimney and leaves presents. So do you think that in that case we could argue that this Christmas movie is more of a Christmas movie than any other Christmas movie because it's not playing on a dream world, it's playing on reality?
Yeah, I mean, there is that dream world aspect of all of these crazy things happening, like the sled and all that stuff. It's a crazy dream world. But you're right. I mean, I think it goes the complete opposite direction where nothing goes right. Like, even at the end, you could argue that, nothing really went right for anybody. I mean, if you had to go through all of that to get 10% extra on your Christmas bonus, then I'm not sure it's worth it.
Yeah, right? And I lost my train of thought with that one. But I like here you have Dad's speech to Clark. Which speech is that one?
I like this is one of the heartfelt moments I think is really great in the movie is when Dad is talking to Clark in the laundry room, and he says the whole bit followed by, I had a lot of help from Jack Daniels, just going through the whole thing. I like it though. It's like a moment where he's talking to his son, just saying, nothing's gonna go right. Like, you just gotta get on with it and do it. And I love it. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm. And I love the separation in the two sets of parents because Clark's parents totally support him in everything he does. When he goes to show them the Christmas lights, the parents are like, I can see it in my mind. I can imagine what it looks like. It looks great, son. But then, of course, the wife's parents, nothing to please them. They're so nitpicky about everything. You don't even know if they're having a good time. And I think that's pretty true to life because there's always one set that's going to be a bit more optimistic than the other, right? One that's totally following the roll with the punches, whereas the others are, I'm going to rage against the machine kind of a thing.
Yeah. The lines like, little lights aren't twinkling, Clark. I know, yeah. Stuff like that, like just gut punches and all that stuff throughout the entire film. I also love how they're always drunk. Like, walking around just always drunk. I think that's hilarious.
Right, and maybe that's why eggnog, a spiced eggnog is the way to go during the holidays because how many families deal with being together by drinking?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't know how I ever got through family gatherings before I was legally allowed to drink.
Too young to maybe understand what was going on, but maybe it's the whole, I like to think of it, you finally are out on your own, you can live your life the way you want, and then you're brought back into what you kind of left behind. You took what you wanted to from it, but now you're back and you're going, oh man, this is something I said I wanted to change, and it's back.
Absolutely.
All right, so you offered up the challenge last time. If we're 100% honest, who are we in the film? Who are you, Jeff?
I'm definitely Clark. Without a doubt, I am Clark Griswold to the T. Like, I am that person. Get in the car. We're gonna go pick out the Christmas tree. It's gonna be perfect. We're gonna do whatever it takes to get it done. and I don't give up. What about you, Kristen? Who are you?
I'd have to say the wife. But that's it, right? Because I feel like in my role, it's the peacekeeper. It's the recognizing when things aren't going to be hitting a certain level, being like, here, this is the level we've got. This is what we have to work with now. So before anyone upsets themselves.
Yeah. I think it is the most what is the word? What are the words I'm looking for? I think that she is probably the most real character in the movie. I mean, she's like you said, the peacekeeper and trying to get all the stuff, settled throughout all the family. She's crazy too. I mean, they're all character roles, but still, I think she might be one of the closest to like a real person.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And any other family members in there that are as close to 100% accurate as possible?
I don't know. I guess I would be a little Russ when I was younger, but that's the only thing I can think of. Like I was probably exactly that kid. Like I can go do something else. I want to be here, but then randomly I would be really into it. I don't know.
Yeah, totally. All right. Now, Jeff, what does your perfect Christmas look like? Whether it's ruined or not, if you had a perfect Christmas, what does that idea encompass?
Oh, I don't know. I guess it would just be like a Pottery Barn ad, right? I mean, just like a perfect tree, a perfect meal laid out, no problems. You know what would be really awesome? If I got a Christmas bonus and didn't have to pay for any of this stuff. I mean, there's a lot of perfect stuff. Harrison, my pup, gets a brand new doghouse in the backyard. It's got like 3 rooms and a garage for his
Barbie
car.
Jeep is well, maybe
Yeah.
not a Barbie Jeep, but one of those little type Jeeps.
Yeah, but honestly, that's if anything was possible. But a perfect Christmas to me is, the cliche thing to say, but I believe it.
Yeah.
Spending time with friends and family and just being together and getting through it. But I'm telling you though, Clark Griswold always got to put on a show. So no matter how much money we don't have, there will be a tree and there will be some sort of show.
Exactly. Now, would you be hosting people, or is that not part of the dream?
I like to host people. I
Okay.
really do. So yeah, that would be part of the dream. But it would be a select few. Invitations are in the mail.
Oh, okay. So in that case, are you pretty good with not inviting people, or do you get nervous if you don't invite certain people?
Ooh, see, this is the thing that I think is an art, right? So there's this weird realm for inviting people where there's a very little gray area. So like if you're talking about your wedding and we're gonna do this really small, okay, we're gonna do it really small. We're gonna have either 30 people. If you get to like 30 people, then you start thinking, if I do 31, it blows up to 100 because this person will want to become, and this person will see that person came, so on and so forth. So I like things really, really small and just do multiple things. I think it's easier to manage my expectations, but also, so like Kristen, you and Kyle came over for dinner a few years ago. Like
Yeah.
small get-togethers like that, like 4 people, small little thing. We could have had like 20 people there if we wanted to, but just do smaller things. I think it's easier.
Totally. And then you get to mingle and actually have talks with people instead of just saying hi to somebody as you go across or see them across the distance.
What's your perfect Christmas look like?
Oh, having family over. I really like having family over. I'd want to host it. I have a house. It's in the middle of the woods, got a big old fireplace, but people get in early, so we get to decorate the tree together. And then something we always do, or did at least growing up, is because there were so many of us, we had to eventually draw names for Christmas gifts. And then we did Makesmasses. So we would each get $20 to make something for our Secret Santa. And I've tried to continue that since. And this year even, I'm doing a little Makesmas for my siblings. But in case they're watching, I can't say.
That's great. What a great way of doing that. Yeah, we do similar things, but that's such a great idea. So tell me, what's the best thing you can remember ever being made for you?
Oh, made for me. Oh, geez, this question was on a stream, and I was, oh, geez, it's hard to say. Um, my brother, before I left for Chicago, made me this scrapbook with all these corny little stickers in it, but pictures of the family and us hanging out with funny little notes written by the pictures mocking me and but he's 8 years younger, so he suffered at the brunt of three older sisters. So he's hilarious when he does that kind of stuff. And he absolutely deserves
cool.
to.
That's a really cool idea for make smithing. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, it's really, really sweet. All right, everyone. Well, we're going to start wrapping this up. So if you like this film, check out National Lampoon's Vacation. Classic. It kind of starts off the whole Griswold family vacation thing. You get the adventure to Wally World, which I think is one of the best. For dysfunctional families, I think A Christmas Story is a good one. Jingle All the Way isn't as dysfunctional, but it's got some of that in there. And it's Schwarzenegger at his prime. And I think Meet the Parents is a pretty good dysfunctional comedy.
Yeah, I agree with all of those. I think they're all spot on. I think out of your list, I think Christmas Story is the that I can't, for some reason, I don't like it very much.
That's okay. Yeah, it's a weird one, and it's got that narration through it, which I think doesn't quite work a lot of the time with a lot of things. So I think that's what my mom doesn't really like the movie, so I wasn't allowed to watch it much growing up.
Yeah, it's not one of my favorites, but some of these that I put on my list are some of my favorites. But I do think they fall in the category, like the movie Scrooged.
I haven't seen that one.
Life lesson learning Christmas movie, I think is good. Ernest Saves Christmas, clearly not one of my favorite movies, but I think that's the same realm as. And then I think Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is really good. That one I think definitely falls in this category. Obviously, we talked about it earlier in the show, so those are my suggestions.
Yeah, definitely. And it's Steve Martin and John Candy, and the two of those really have a great chemistry together. So it's a lot cleaner humor than I think National Lampoon's offers. So yeah, I definitely support that one. And it's John Hughes as well. So it's that very similar real life, but taken up a notch.
Real good.
Totally. And I think we know your opinion already, but will this movie stand the test of time?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it already has, right? 30 years old, almost 30 years old. I mean, the quality jokes, the way that you can relate to this, I think people are going to be watching this movie for, I know I will, in my life.
Oh, yeah, we're going to keep watching it, and then we're going to show our kids, and our kids will learn to like it because it's part of the holiday tradition, so they'll feel bad until they start to actually like it themselves, like with you. And there you go.
The cycle is complete.
All righty. And what's next? I think this is something we've been wanting to talk about for a while.
Good pick, Kristen. Next, we're going to watch Captain America Winter Soldier. You can find it on iTunes. Or there's a bunch of other ways to find it as well, but this is Winter Soldier, so the second Captain America film. And if you haven't seen this, you're in for a treat. I think this is the best Marvel movie, or top 3 best Marvel movies.
That's true. With Ultron having been released, I think it's up there with Ultron. Ultron was so good.
We'll get into this when we start talking about it next time, but man, you can tell there's stuff on the tips of our tongues already to start talking about.
Oh my god, it's so good. If you'd like to share your thoughts about this or your favorite parts, any thoughts you have, you can email us at talkingpicturesalliance@gmail.com or tweet at us at TPAcast. Jeff, where can people find you when you're not here?
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. Jeff Reynolds, all one. We'll see you there.
Heck yeah. And if you're looking for me, you can find me at Twitter, Twitch, Instagram @_Kristen Ashton. And as for the show, you can find us here, twitch.tv/Kristen Ashton, every other Sunday for more movie madness. And we're going to be taking a little holiday break. Our next show is supposed to be the 30th, but that's right smack dab before New Year's Eve. So we'll be celebrating. I don't think we'll be coherent enough to do a show on the 30th. You got a pregame, right? So January 6th, we'll be back with our first episode of the new year, Captain America Winter Soldier. And if you'd like to support this podcast, head on over to patreon.com/TPAcast. And with that, Jeff, any final thoughts?
Hallelujah! Holy shit, where's the Tylenol?